Hi, my name is Daniel. I'd like to welcome you back to our channel. This is part 2 of drawing the head. Today we're going to be tackling drawing the form, and what I mean by that is adding light and dark to your drawing, commonly known as value, to show the form of the head. If you draw a simple ball, it usually starts off with a circle, but once you add your lights and darks, all of a sudden it becomes three-dimensional, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here with our head. So I hope you enjoy this video, and let's get started. All right, here we go. So in this section, what we're doing is looking carefully at each shape, each individual shape, to determine how light and dark it is. A lot of you may be asking, why would I spend an entire video on these light and dark colors? And the reason is shadows and light are what determine form. That's what gives something its roundness and its shape and its sense of being 3D. So we want to make sure that we have a really good understanding of where lights and darks land on an object in order to give them a sense of living in space. So I can't emphasize doing this kind of work enough. It's very, very important. So structure comes first, which was the first video, and in this video we're now working on form, developing form. So as you can see, I've drawn this part in, and that's kind of a guess as to how light and dark it is. I'm not yet sure, because the only way I'll really know is if a color is right or not. It'll be determined based on how light and dark other parts are. In other words, values are relative. They're not absolute. None of us see it that way. We only understand it by what's around it. So nothing lives in isolation. So I'm just kind of doing my best as to guess what the right values are. Soon, once I get other colors in there, then I'll determine what their relationship is, and that's really what matters. So I'm jumping into the ear here, and I'm seeing a lot of darks. And now I'm moving into the eye socket. So as I draw the eye socket, I'm shading this in, and I'm definitely seeing that this area is darker. So now I'm determining my value structure. And what I see is a dark, a dark, a medium, a light, and a highlight. And those are my 5 values that I'm going to be working with. So I'm continuing on into the cheek. And moving now into the nose. At the bottom of the nose basically has this kind of M shape. And there's some sub-values in there, significantly darker. And there's a value adjustment. So you're going to be constantly doing these kinds of adjustments as you're drawing. And then moving into the other eye, I see that there's a shadow that rolls past the line of the eye. It's a little further down, so that's why there's a tilt to that line. Moving back into the nose, I'm just looking carefully at each shape. And the way that I'm shading this is moving from shape to shape to shape. What color is this shape? What color is this shape? What color is this shape? I'm noticing that there's a cast shadow right below the nose. And then the other side of that shadow is just a little bit lighter. Moving into the side of the nose. And now I'm tackling the upper lip. Generally speaking, the upper lip is darker than the bottom lip. That's not always the case, but in most cases it is. And then the fact that this person is being lit, or the object is being lit the way it is going to make it even darker, since it's almost like an awning and it pulls back a bit. Okay, so the bottom lip being a little bit lighter but still in shadow. There's just that one corner where it catches some light, so I left that empty. Underneath the lip there's that shelf that drops down into the chin, and here I'm adding additional structure that determines how light and dark that area is. and the shelf of the brow moving across that area is darker. For some people it's very pronounced, for other people it's not, and that'll determine how light and dark that is. I'm now drawing the neck, and you don't want to put too much information down into the neck. You just want to get some basic broad strokes in there. So I'm just, in a very broad fashion, adding some value here. So it's dark here, cleaning up a little bit on the side, and marking right where I'm going to end it. And now I'm switching over into my light. So the first thing that I want to do is determine where is one of my lightest parts of the face. So right above the lip, right below the cheek, boom. That area is going to be significantly brighter than other areas of the face because it catches the most amount of light, and that light is bouncing off of that part of the face and coming directly into my eye, which is why it looks so bright to me. So if I stand in a different position, it'll actually be less lit. But from where I'm sitting, that's where I'm seeing a lot of light bouncing into my eye. Moving up into the nose and the cheek, I'm definitely seeing a darker color. So it's a little less intense. It's going to be my light color. Highlights on the lip and right at the peak of the chin. A little bit darker on the bottom lower face here, lower part of the head. And then back into the neck, definitely seeing some light, not a lot, but some. And then I can see that relatively there is a little bit more light on that side of the face than there is on the other. So now jumping into the side of the head, I'm not seeing too much light in that area, but I am seeing a lot of light right here, right above the brow, right at that turn of the head. So I'm going to add a lot of light in that area. That's where I'm seeing a lot kind of bouncing right off. And then moving across up over on the top of the head and into the forehead, I do see some light, but it's not very intense. So here comes just a very basic shade. And that is our light value. And then I see a lot of light bouncing off of the top of the ear into certain parts of the cartilage of the ear and dropping down a little lower past the cartilage and towards the lobe. There's also some shadows. And I'm taking a basic measurement here, just making sure that things line up well. And now I'm adding a little bit of light value on the darker side of the head. And what this does is it helps pop the head forward. And again, by contrast, giving your eye something to read off of. So it helps you better understand where there's light, where there's dark. All right, so now what I'm doing is just drawing the most basic form of the head, which is essentially an egg shape. And I'm showing you guys how light affects the object. So our light source is coming from the top left-hand side. And there's going to be shadow on the bottom right. And then there's going to be even more dark right here. So right where I'm shading right now, that area is going to be significantly darker because that's where light terminates, it stops. And then there's reflective light on the other side. Now I'm adding some light and then a highlight right in the middle there. And that's essentially the light pattern. So let's mark this down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to mark this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 is really the light pattern that I'm seeing. And then we're going to label it. So here's a highlight. Here's light. Midtone. Our dark. Our shadow. And then back into reflective light, which is about the same value as our midtone. So I hope that through this demonstration you get a clear understanding of the power of value and breaking it down into those simple 5 values of a shadow, a midtone, light, and highlight really help you get an idea of where to add things. It can be broken down into many more sub-values, and that's fine, but most of the artists that I've seen who are successfully determining value do it by breaking it down to 5 to maybe 7 at most. So you want to keep it simple, you want to keep it easy, and practice, practice, practice.